Hello everyone and welcome to Bald Guy Money. I am Bald Guy, and in this video I want to talk about striking the right balance between protecting wealth with metals and growing wealth via other investment vehicles. Because as I have said since the start of my channel, I think a great base target is to try to get 5 ounces of gold and 200 ounces of silver. But I understand that for many of you that amount simply doesn't satisfy your needs or give you a good enough safety cushion for retirement. For others, especially those who are just getting started, and a special hello to the younger stackers who watch this channel, you are in the right place. Getting there may seem daunting, and at a value of nearly 15,000 US dollars today, that amount may actually represent nearly 100% of your net worth or even more. So in this video, I want to answer the following questions, starting with what I think is an ideal percentage range of your net worth to keep in metals split by age and income bracket. And also I want to add what I think a reasonable gold to silver ratio is for each age group, considering the gold safety argument versus the silver upside argument. Then I want to give some thoughts on how much I think is too much to allocate to metals, and that's sure to be a controversial topic. And before I get to the viewer question for this video, and it's a very interesting one regarding titanium, I want to reveal exactly what percentage of my net worth is in gold and silver, and how I plan on developing my position as I get older. Now, just before we get into it, if you're in the USA and want to buy gold or silver at a good price from a dealer you can trust, please check out channel partner Pimbex. They are currently offering silver Canadian maple leaf coins, which are very recognizable and very liquid, for as low as $26.11 each. And that's around $1.50 cheaper than most sites are selling silver American Eagles right now. So if recognizability and liquidity are important to you in your stack, check out this deal. I will leave the link to it in the video description below. And if you want to see what other great prices they've got, go to pimbex.com or call them at the number on the screen. They can also help you out with setting up a gold and silver IRA at the low prices they offer on their website. Just remember, if you contact them, please let them know that you came from the Bald Guy Money channel. So, as I said at the start of my video, I recognize that my 5 ounces of gold and 200 ounces of silver might not be a suitable end goal or final target for many stackers out there. And the truth is, it was never meant to be that. It's simply a goal that I think every person, even those who don't like or want to invest in metals, should have as a hedge to the fiat currency they use every day. Because as many decent people in Lebanon have learned over the last couple years, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And that target is more than enough to sustain you for a few months while you try to get back on your feet. And to all the people who keep coming to this channel to say that gold and silver are bad investments, thank goodness you have not had to live through a serious currency collapse. And I hope that day never comes for you. But if it does, you will have absolutely no right to cry or complain. Now, when it comes to setting an allocation based on age and total net worth profile, I have pulled US data for median net worth by age group, which measures the net worth of people right in the middle of everybody lined up from highest net worth to lowest net worth. And I think this data will apply to the average viewer in each respective age group. Now, I have also pulled data for average net worth, meaning the entire net worth of the age group divided by the total number of people in the group, which I think will be more relevant for viewers with a little higher net worth than the average viewer. And just before I dig into the data, I want to say that I think this American data is applicable for most of my viewers, whether you're in the UK, the EU, whether you're in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, or wherever else you're watching from. And as we go through the data, I think it's a good idea to use it as a benchmark versus where you stand while you think about where it is you want to be. So, what am I showing you all here? On the left, you can see the age brackets. Then you have the median net worth based on US data. Link to the source is in the description as always. Then you have the average net worth for each age bracket broken down. And this is how we can measure the differences between average members of the group, or let's call them middle income earners, and wealthier members of the group who are probably going to be more in line with that average number. Because you will see in the next columns that the percentage allocation for median net worth individuals varies slightly versus allocation I think is appropriate for wealthier average net worth individuals. And we'll get into the details of that in a moment. But finally, I have provided a US dollar value of the total metals position based on what I think the allocation for each group should be. Now, just to quickly take you through the logic here, I think for younger groups, especially those in the median group who are earning a little less and really need to focus on building wealth faster, a 5% allocation to metals makes perfect sense. For the wealthier group, whose net worth is more in line with the average, you have a little more to protect since you likely earn more, and a 10% allocation is the best bet as it won't prevent you from taking advantage of other opportunities with the rest of the 90% of your net worth. Now, I won't go through each group in detail, but what I will say is that an allocation to metals should increase as you get closer to retirement age because it is in your best interest to preserve more of your wealth and preserve more of your earnings in a liquid, inflation-resistant vehicle, as opposed to keeping it, for example, in bonds, as many financial advisors tell you to do. And why I say that is because of the counterparty risk that comes along with bonds, for example, right? Considering how many bonds have been yielding real negative returns in the recent high inflation environment we've had, I would personally allocate more in line with this table to have higher exposure to metals, especially gold, and we're going to get into the details of that in a moment, to mitigate or protect myself against the risk of inflation eating away at the value of the money I've saved for retirement. But of course, as you enter retirement, and you'll see this in the numbers, and you have to cover your day-to-day expenses, I also think it makes sense to lower that allocation and use your metals to supplement your retirement income to cover expenses, which will by default bring your total exposure to metals as a percentage of your net worth down. So I hope that's clear for everyone, and if not, please let me know in the comments section. But when it comes to how I would split that money into gold and silver, I have put this together. It shows, once again, age group. It shows how much I would allocate as a value split between gold and silver in percentage terms, and it also shows how much gold and silver in troy ounces that gives you in your respective group, as well as a gold to silver ratio in the last column for those of you who are very concerned about that gold to silver ratio. And I want to start out with median net worth, and that's the data you're seeing right here, the median net worth individuals from each group, meaning the middle income earners amongst us. Because I think this group should have a heavier allocation to silver versus what I will show you for the higher income earners, especially in the lower age brackets. And the reason is because, well, first of all, it gets you in the habit of stacking and really makes you feel like you're making progress as your silver stack grows. But more importantly, since you're young, you have plenty of time for the macroeconomic factors expected to result in better price performance for silver versus gold, like green energy, for example. You have more time for that to play out and yield better wealth protection and even positive returns versus inflation. On the flip side, no matter where you fall, I think all people entering retirement should focus on an 80-20 allocation at minimum that favors gold. And the reason is that gold has proven to be a reliable wealth protector and an asset that has outperformed inflation over the last many years, as I've covered in multiple videos right here on the channel. And I think getting Too much exposure in your later years to the volatility of silver is not only risky, especially in times of need when you have to supplement your income, but it also causes unnecessary stress, which many of us don't want in our later years. That's when we're supposed to be relaxing, right? And that's why my gold to silver ratio goes from 88 in your early years of stacking for median income net worth individuals, with a half of ounce of gold to 42 ounces of silver as my target stack for that youngest group. And that gold to silver ratio moves all the way down to 22 in someone's later retirement years, with about 13 ounces of gold and 288 ounces of silver for viewers above 75 as kind of a target for that age bracket and for that net worth group. Now, if we flip over to the higher income earners, so people who fall into the average net worth group, you'll immediately notice that I think this group should have a higher allocation to gold. And the reason why is simple. It's because higher earners have more money to allocate towards investments in general. That means a large enough exposure to silver can be built even with a smaller allocation as a percentage of your total metals budget, while you use the low volatility wealth protection power of gold to kind of secure yourself as a higher earner. And that's really an insurance policy for you to pursue riskier investments, which also includes presumably a larger cash position that you would have versus middle income earners. Additionally, when we're talking about these amounts of money, you have to think pragmatically. Allocating too much of your budget to silver will result in a situation where the size of your stack simply becomes a burden. It will become difficult to store, difficult to secure, and difficult to move around should you need to, especially if you're of retirement age. And for those of you saying, yeah, but silver is going to the moon, it will be $500 an ounce, don't tell me that having more than 1,000 ounces of silver isn't enough. In that very unlikely scenario that silver actually goes to $500 an ounce, I'm going to humor some of you on this idea right now. 1,000 ounces of silver is more than enough. Now, I'd love to hear in the comments section what you think about that breakdown. Do you think I got it right? Would you change something? So let me know in the comments right now. And just before I reveal what my personal allocation to gold and silver is of my total net worth, I want to circle back here quickly to say, I know many of you have allocations higher than what I'm showing here, and that's fine. This is not meant to be advice in any way, shape, or form, and how much of your money you allocate to gold and silver is totally up to you. But what I will say is this, from my point of view, if a stack is larger than a third of your net worth, so that's 33%, that, in my opinion, is too much. Now, I think gold and silver are great for preserving wealth, and if things go bad, a reasonable allocation will likely be more than enough to help you get back on your feet. But in an environment where you have income-producing options like dividend stocks, even many mining stocks pay dividends, by the way. You have options like rental properties, which generate cash flow and also appreciate in value like metals do along with inflation. You have options like tech stocks, which I think will experience a correction. I've talked about that here on the channel. But overall, the trend has made many people wealthy over the last 20 years. With all of these options, I just say don't forget what the metals are for. They are the insurance policy. If all fiat disappears tomorrow and is replaced by metals, again, that's a scenario that I don't think will play out, but let's pretend it will. You won't have to worry. I've demonstrated in other videos how there's less than 1 ounce of silver bullion for every person on the earth. So there's really no need to put on the blinders and ignore other opportunities around you once you have a healthy allocation to metals, kind of in line with what I'm showing in this table here, which in my opinion should be at a maximum of 20% if you really have high conviction, a lot of money to protect, and are approaching retirement age. So now, what percentage of my net worth is in gold and silver? Today, 8% of my net worth is in gold and silver. A little lower than my target of 10%, but as many of you know, I have a lot of my net worth tied up in real estate, which has appreciated a lot recently. So the appreciation on that real estate has brought the value of my metals as a percentage of my total net worth a little bit down. Now, of that 8% of my net worth allocated to metals, 74% of that money is in gold at today's spot price, whilst about 26% is in silver. And for every 1 ounce of gold I have 31 ounces of silver. And I expect that number, talking about the future, I expect that number to go down over time as I start stacking closer to a 20-to-1 ratio as I enter my 40s and get ready to retire. So, with that covered, it's time to move on to the viewer question for this video. Remember, you can submit your questions in the comments. I select one question to appear in every video I do, and this one comes from two people, F. Postalash and Joan Pepe, and they wanted to know what I think about titanium stacking. And I have to admit that I really didn't know this was a thing until I received the questions. And my Patreon Discord members might remember when I mentioned this topic in the chat there for the first time, because I was a bit shocked, I have to admit. But I did a little research and even found YouTube videos on the topic, as you can see here. And what I want to say about this is the same thing I said about copper rounds. This is a product for fools, and I don't mean any offense to anybody who's purchased this. I sincerely don't. But what I'm trying to say to you all is don't be tricked by products like this. Do not buy them. And if you have, that's okay. Take a lesson from it and move on. And let me explain why that is. I found this 1 troy ounce titanium bullion bar for $9.99 US from a dealer online. I won't name the dealer, but it's not important. Now, based on the actual price of titanium, which is $5.75 per kilogram, this thing has a value of 18 cents, which means you are paying 56 times more than its value when you buy this. Even when buying industrial grade titanium per kilogram from China, you can see the price is way lower than these titanium bullion products. So to answer the question in the simplest way possible, what do I think about titanium, or at least titanium products like this? Because my assumption is that is what people who ask the question, this is the kind of products that you're getting exposure to. Well, considering the fact that I'm not an aerospace company supplier or a golf club manufacturer, it's not something I'm interested in, and I wouldn't recommend these bullion products to my worst enemy. I understand many of you have a desire to find something that's going to yield a high appreciation moving forward, that you're going to get a big return on, but please, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't it. The same situation for those copper rounds. This isn't it. From my point of view, when it comes to metals, you all know I'm not even in platinum. I focus on silver and gold. And if anybody asks me, Bald Guy, I want to put some money into metals, what should I focus on? I would say focus on silver and gold. And again, there's a lot of useful information in this video based on your age and net worth status that will help you decide what a good allocation is as a total percentage of your net worth, as well as how to split that up between silver and gold. That's it for this video, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, if you want more Bald Guy content, you can go into the video description or pinned comment below. There is a link there to join my Patreon. It isn't very expensive. It's $9.99, the same price of that 1 troy ounce of titanium. And remember, you can cancel at any time, but there's a lot of valuable content there. My next newsletter will be dropping this coming Tuesday, and I've just posted a new video there last night talking about Bitcoin, talking about interest rates, and talking about real estate. I'm sure many of you will find it very interesting, so if you want to join, the links are below. And until the next time we see each other, everyone, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Goodbye.